What is up, Gadsden Brigade? Peyton Johnson here with another daily installment of Enlightenment. Before we get into today's segment, if you could please smash that like button, comment down below, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. Marco Rubio is fighting back against the communists, and I absolutely love it. I got an article here from the New York Post. Let's jump right into it. It reads, Rubio blasts calls from AOC Sanders to lift U.S. embargo on Cuba. There he is, little Marco. Little Marco, he once said that I had small hands, and I said, no, fake news. I said, these hands can drive a golf ball over 200 yards. But I appreciate the driving burn because I appreciate the fight, and I like a fighter, a good American fighter. Salute, just like Kobe Covington. Anyways, guys, enough with the bad Trump impressions. The article reads, Senator Marco Rubio slammed calls Monday from Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to lift America's decade-old embargo against Cuba, saying advocates for the policy change, quote, don't know what they're talking about. And trust me, when it comes to AOC, that is an absolute understatement. Continuing quote, it says, all they know is they're just spewing off left-wing talking points, because if you notice, these are the same people that say over and over again, it's always America's fault. Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants and a Republican from Florida, told Fox News special report. Continuing quote from Rubio, it says, no matter what the problem is in the world, America's to blame for it. America's done something wrong. They don't know what the heck they're talking about, he added. Obviously, he's being sarcastic, but I feel like he wanted to drop an F-bomb there. And I'll tell you, if he dropped an F-bomb on Fox News, little Marco would become Big Mark. I know you got it in you, Marco. Come on, man. Let it out. I know you meant it deep down inside. It says, after protesters calling for the overthrow of Cuba's communist government regime took to the streets of Havana and other cities on July 11th, Sanders tweeted that the embargo, which had been placed on the country since 1962, had only hurt and not helped the Cuban people. Ocasio-Cortez remained silent until Thursday when she issued a statement expressing solidarity with the Cuban people and condemning repression by the Havana government. She then turned the focus to the embargo, describing it as absolutely cruel and the U.S. contribution to Cuban suffering. Quote from AOC, she says, it is never acceptable for us to use cruelty as a point of leverage against everyday people, she said. Well, Marco Rubio strikes that right down, and he says there's only two embargoes here, the embargo against government-owned companies and the embargo that the Cuban regime imposes on its own people. He says, right now, if an independent business operator, if a small farm owner, if a consultant or independent contractor in Cuba wants to do business with Americans, they can, the senator explained. There's no U.S. government restriction on that. It's the Cuban government regime that doesn't allow it because they want to control how much money people make every month. It's the leverage they hold over their heads. The people who give these opinions, they don't know what they're talking about. You know, reading that, it's almost as if it isn't the U.S.'s fault at all, and it's actually the fault of another failed communist authoritarian regime. Well, color me stupid and slap my balls. Marxism fails again, and they're going to blame everybody else except Marxist ideology itself. And it's a tale as old as time. It doesn't work. Tell me how many times Marxism ideologies such as communism don't end up in authoritarian dictatorship regime full of genocide, famine, poverty, and authoritarianism. Never. It's their fault. It's Cubans' fault. You know, they sided against U.S. Enemies back in the 60s. The Soviet Union, they let them bring in missiles, pointing them right at Florida. They had missiles pointed at Florida, 90 miles from the USA. They let the Soviets into Cuba and let them set up military bases there and let them set up missile launching bases. So explain to me why the U.S. government or the U.S. owes the communist regime of Cuba any kind of helping hand. You know, it amazes me. How is this a winning argument by Marxists that a communist country failed because it didn't have access to a capitalist country's goods and services? It's not a capitalist country's fault. In this case, the United States of America, it's not their fault that communism is not a self-sufficient system. Cuba has land, Cuba has water. Weird, but they're not self-sufficient. Why? Because the government owns everything. Whose fault is that? The communist government. It's got nothing to do with the USA. They got imports from anywhere else. They can do business with Americans. But we are not going to prop up communist authoritarian regimes. It is not morally our obligation. It never has been. It never will be. And the Cuban citizens are smart enough to know that. And that's why they come to the USA for a better life and don't stay in Cuba. Common sense when you really think about it. Now, if you don't know, because the so wonderful Cuban communist government regime, they shut off the internet to all their citizens because that's normal. It says Rubio and other lawmakers have been urging the White House to work with Congress to help make internet access more accessible on the island after the Cuban government blocked social media sites during the protest. You know why they blocked them? I wonder if it's because they're going to videotape and record what actual communism looks like. I've said this before on this channel, and I got to say this again. Take the words from actual Cuban immigrants on what communism actually like, what living under a communist regime is actually like. Because AOC and Bernie Sanders, while they live in the lap of luxury, and she has enough money to invest $1.4 million into self-branded merch, they're going to tell you how horrible the United States is and that we should be like Cuba. But as I said before, communist leaders love capitalism. Joseph Stalin, Fidel Castro, Mao Zedong, AOC, they all live in luxury. Funny how that works. Why aren't they redistributing their wealth to everyone else? Well, communism, it's not pro-capital. Yeah, when the state owns everything, it's not pro-capital, buddy. Get your facts straight. It's manipulation. It's completely disingenuous. And I can't say this enough, and I used to say this all the time on the old channel. Communism is a failed ideology, and it always will be a failed ideology. There will never be any place for it in the United States of America. It's a recipe for disaster. It's failed. It's always failed, and it will continue to fail. It will never work. It's not self-sufficient. It's not sustaining, and we are not going to allow Red Scare authoritarians to take over this country. Cuba is a perfect example of why we should never let communism thrive in the United States of America. So I went on quite a rager of a rant there, but Marco Rubio added these horrifying reports that we've seen and we've gotten of people being tortured, of people being abducted from their homes and their family members not knowing where they are. This is the model that they have followed for a long time. The only difference now and between the past is some of this is being documented and posted on social media for the world to see. What is clear now, said the senator, it is the rupture between the people and the regime is complete. And they've lost their legitimacy to govern. And that's the point that needs to continue to be driven home. And that's exactly why they banned their citizens off of social media, because they don't want you or anybody else to actually see the thinly disguised veneer of communism get completely obliterated for what it really is. It only serves authoritarian dictatorships, because you know what? It turns out that communism is not a self-sufficient system. They blame capitalist countries for their own failures. How does that make any logical sense? I'm sorry. I thought you hated capitalists. If you're a communist, why do you want the help from the bourgeoisie? Huh? Come on, you're the proletariat. Come on. No, they want the power. It's all about power. It's always been about power. And the USA, and I'm going to say this again, I've said it before, they are not obligated to financially prop up communist authoritarians, whether that's in Cuba, China, Russia, Korea, or anywhere. We never will, and we never should. And I absolutely stand with Marco Rubio, and I stand with the citizens of Cuba who want more than anything and deserve more than anything to have communists completely eradicated from their country. Godspeed, and my prayers to all of you guys. But tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think communism is a good thing and that it's all America's fault, that it never works anywhere and always turns into a communist authoritarian regime? Or is it their own damn fault? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, like, share this video, comment down below, as I said before, and subscribe to this channel. You've all been sexy. I'm Peyton Johnson. Enjoy the rest of your day. Later.